Coming up on stage is Raven Faber, founder and CEO of Engerotics. Katherine Merryfield, she's a herbalist, nutritionist, and owner-founder of Katz Naturals, Incorporated and All Natural Manufacturing, LLC. Enjoy, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Hi, guys. You guys ready? Yeah? I'm talking about sex today. You ready for that?
The best subject.
Yeah. Should we do some intros? You want to go first?
My name is Katherine Merryfield. I am the founder and owner of a company called Katz Naturals. We started back in 2014, so we've been in this for a while. And recently, we are branching out with my lovely partner, Ashley Brooks, in a new company called Libere, where we're going to focus on women's sexual health using cannabis.
And I'm Raven Faber. I'm the founder and CEO of Engerotics. Engerotics is short for engineered erotics. Yes, engineers love sex too. We are a canna sex tech company, which means we reside in both the sexual technology space as well as the cannabis space. We specialize in the design and development of sex toys, as well as the formulation and manufacturing of CBD-infused intimate body care products. And yes, I am an engineer by profession, so. And don't be shy. I'm hoping you guys will have questions. The juicier, the better. So where should we start?
Well, how did you start engineering your products for women? How did you get started?
That's a great question. I'm going to ask you the same thing.
Okay.
So I founded Engineered Erotics in 2016, and originally when I started the company, I did not know we were going to be working on CBD. We actually started with doing the internal engineering of vibrators. Much like CBD, there are no rules, laws, regulations, design standards by which manufacturers are held accountable for quality, safety, efficacy, and functionality. And so when I started Engineered Erotics, I'm like, well, hey, engineers are here to help keep the public at large safe. Sex stuff should be no different. CBD fell into our lap at the end of 2017. We saw a very distinct need there for science, for formulation, for good chemistry, and it really just took off from there. Always been comfortable talking about sex. Are you comfortable talking about sex?
Absolutely
Comfortable talking about sex. And it was just such a natural fit. What about you? Same question.
So this was actually kind of a COVID interest that me and my business partner
COVID
started.
Sex, yes.
I mean, it was a big subject, a lot of procreation going on. But Ashley is a grower in Tennessee, and I'm a manufacturer and formulator. So we started talking about what can we do to help women truly be liberated and start talking about these issues. And in our research, we found out that not only are women's products not regulated, but we have to go to the doctor and get psychologically evaluated if we need help.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Isn't it?
It's nuts. I think that one of the things that I really like about working in this industry is that it leaves a lot of room to destigmatize these subjects. And it's not so much that, sex is stigmatized. Women's pleasure is stigmatized.
Absolutely.
God forbid that you should go into the grocery store and yell about all hail the clitoris.
Yeah.
People will clutch their pearls, people will have something to say, but if you're talking about penises, then it's okay, So this is a really important topic to have. Historically, in the adult pleasure product industry, it's very male-driven. So there's a lot of ugly, subpar products that they want you to put in your vagina. And I'm like, that's crazy. That's,
And on our side, we do a lot of research using real life experience. And a lot of my products have been born out of my own dysfunctions.
Yes.
And so, I had cancer where I had most of my cervix removed. And afterwards, penetration was very uncomfortable. And what do you get for that? Nothing. You go to the doctor and you ask and they say, well, sorry, honey, but we can send you to a psychologist.
It's like they don't believe you. Like
Right.
they don't believe you. And, it's like I'm only 35. So I have not, gotten to the point of, menopause. But many of our clients have, and it just blows my mind when we keep getting orders from women who are like my mom's age, my grandmother's age. And I'm like, whoa, you guys want to talk about sex with me? Like, that's awesome. But there's a real need there. I feel like, you want to talk about vasodilation? I feel like that's a really important thing that, when it comes to CBD sex stuff. Here, tell us about vasodilation.
So having the CBD or the THC, we've actually found helps to release the tension in the vagina, allowing for deeper penetration, allowing for a more comfortable situation because of the way the cannabinoids connect with the receptors we naturally have in that site. I love it myself because I have tension issues, I have a lot of pain on penetration, and we found that women, even as young as 25, who have gone through different procedures also deal with the same thing. So using the different cannabinoids, and we've only worked with THC and CBD together in a full spectrum situation, where we found that it's a lot more effective if they're combined versus just having the one.
It's the entourage effect. So, and I think that's a beautiful thing about cannabis, you know, like it's just because there are different needs. So we use isolate in our products. Originally, when we first started developing, we came out with our salve, we were using a distillate in our products. And we were finding that our client base, they were loving the effect, but they were not too on board with the hempy scent, which is totally okay. Scent is a very fickle thing, especially when it comes to sex, right? And it's like nothing kills the mood faster than something that you don't like the smell of. So we started focusing on using isolate in combination with other ingredients that can all work in concert, synergistically together, so that one complements the other. One of the things that I get asked a lot is, well, you know, how do you choose your oils? And the things that you need to know about using oils, like, yeah, you can get some isolate or whatever and mix it up with a vat of coconut oil. You can do that. But one of the things that I think is really important to pay attention to is different oils have different textures. They have different absorbency rates. So depending upon how you're formulating, you might get a little bit of CBD right from the jump, and then, you know, a few minutes in, and then a few minutes in, depending upon the combination of ingredients you're using. And I think it's wonderful because there's like infinite possibilities on how to create these things, how to satisfy different needs. Do you have kids? You have kids, right?
I have 4 and 2 grandkids.
Yep. So I was gonna ask, because this is true for me. It seems like CBD intimate products have made a world of difference since having had kids, because it's like my vagina's different. Everything down there just feels different, and it just like blew me away. I was like, well, I know there's nothing wrong with me, but things are working much differently. So I've been finding a lot of improvement and relief in my pelvic health journey since having kids through the use of CBD. And not just CBD, THC too. What about you? Is that something that you find true, like being a mom, or?
Well, you know, my kids are all grown, so there's
No
not
diapers.
really that.
No diapers.
I don't have that kind of illustration personally, but, you know, for us, one of the biggest things that we wanted to make sure was that our products could be used for people who are trying to procreate.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
because when you have, you're trying to get pregnant and you don't want to have anything, you know, getting in the way of that, the way the sperm is moving. So we actually found a vegetable-based silicone alternative that is both condom safe and is safe for fertility. So that was really exciting. And we use a water soluble because, like you said, the smell, like you want to make sure that everything going in there smells just like you.
Yeah.
I don't want to be fruity or scenty. I mean, I think the industry has spent plenty of time trying to cover up our natural pheromones, and it's time to go ahead and let them be them.
Totally. I can't get on board with, you know, how some people are like, oh, well, you know, your vagina is just gross. Like, I feel like a lot of people, like,
I don't even know what to do with that.
I don't know what to do with that either. You know, but there's like, we have a long way to go. Like, you know, vaginal health should not be a taboo thing. I mean, I remember being in high school, and it's like, you get your tampon out to run to the bathroom, right? And like, you know, all these, you know, immature teenage boys are looking at you like, ew, you should put that away. But why should I have to? Like, why should I have to hide my feminine hygiene products? Like, why? Don't you have sisters? Don't you have a mom? So, I mean, I always like to say that, you know, at Engerotics, you know, we're pro-vagina, we're pro-woman, you know, we're pro-representation, we're pro-titty. Like, you know, if you're working for me and you're on a meeting with me and you have to nurse, I mean, I don't care. Like, you know, we have to normalize all these things that come along with, having good female health, good reproductive health, good intimate health across the board. And that's why I think it's so important to talk about that openly. That's why we're on this stage talking about vaginas.
And we've actually found that this has been the most exciting part of our journey, was opening up the dialogue with so many women. I mean, people who have never shared their stories before, who have sat around with their own friends, family members, and nobody's ever broached the subject of, do you enjoy sex? What is this like for you? How do you enjoy it? So creating products that can be used not just by women, by a lot of different people. We just start with women because we are women.
Yeah.
And so we think about ourselves and how we haven't really been catered to for so many decades.
Yeah, and one of the things that a lot of our other clients have brought to my attention, we have a lot of clients who are non-binary. We have clients who are trans femme, trans masc, and their needs can be very unique as well. I don't feel like the market does a good enough job as seeing these people as individuals. Especially in the pleasure product space, it's like, male, female, and anything other than that is treated as a fetish, is treated as something that's other, and it really shouldn't be. Like, some of the marketing is just atrocious, offensive, racist ass marketing. There's a lot of that. Sometime last year, there was this big town hall with one of the big companies, one of the big heavy hitters in the industry, about this type of marketing, why it was played out, why it's not okay, why we should not bring this into like the topical pleasure product space of lubes and creams. And, for as big as this company is, like, you'd figure that they'd get it, but they did not really understand. So, I mean, the work that you do and the work that I do, like, it starts here. Like, it starts on stages like these, so that we can spread the good word. What about sex education? Like, what does Kat's Naturals do for sex education? Like, do you guys, like sex
gotta
toys,
remember,
vibrators?
This is a brand new company.
That's okay. I want to hear. No, well, what are you guys going to do? What's the plan?
Okay, so what are you guys going to do? Is basically open up the dialogue, start to have some podcasts, get real women talking about real situations. And we learned so much when we started. I mean, women are dealing with BV because they're putting products into their bodies that are creating infections. And some of the lubes that they're using, I mean, 2 of the biggest lubes on the market are actually eroding the interior of our vaginas.
Yeah.
And those are the biggest marketed. So when we start talking about this, like, what are real women doing? And maybe we can start getting the message out and, like you said, starting to normalize it so that our young women, these women who do not need to be repressed in this day and age, are going to be able to be liberated.
Yeah, this is a very important thing. I mean, I grew up, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a sex-positive household. Did you grow up in a sex-positive?
Not at all.
No, not at all. And I think that a lot of people who end up in this space did grow up like that. A lot of people who know me are not shocked. They're like, yeah, of course, Raven, you like sex toys, you like sex stuff, of course, I feel really fortunate. Even though, like, coming up, my mom describes herself as being a renegade Catholic, so she's Catholic light. So I'm really grateful for the sex positive experience that I had growing up. I'm even more grateful that I'm able to talk to other people who didn't have that experience, because they need to know that this is an okay thing. It's perfectly natural. It's perfectly natural. I don't have an issue with, talking to my kids about, about sex education, because this is part of, growing into a well-balanced human being, right? What else should we talk about?
So mine actually started, my liberation started when I had to start educating my teenagers.
Yeah.
And I had never been educated. Nobody talked about sex. As a matter of fact, we were told, we were not to have it. But of course, teenagers get curious, and the last thing I needed was to have my kids getting diseases or not standing up for who they are, because I was even kind of taught that I should just roll over and let anybody, because I should feel bad for saying no.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that society meant to teach me that. I know my parents didn't mean to teach me that, but it was the lack of education that taught me that.
Yeah.
So I started learning how to talk about it and opening up myself to my children, which is a very uncomfortable situation for them. But now I have a 23-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old daughter, and they're in different places with their sexuality, but I have a very open dialogue with them now, and I'm so happy that they can talk about it so freely.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Because, when you're able to talk about those things freely, there isn't really anything for them to hide. It's like, I remember a lot of my Catholic friends, they were sneaking around and they didn't ask questions. They were learning about sex from all the wrong places, essentially. And it's like, no, we can talk about that. So I don't know how my kids are going to feel about it as they're 5 and 2, so they don't really, but as they grow up, I got the whole PTA on board, okay? Like, we don't advertise in the school newspaper, but they know what we're about. I think that one of the things that I found to be really rewarding when it comes to CBD is just how we're still exploring its effects on the sexual response cycle. And there were a lot of, I don't know, have you ever been to the Quad S conference? You should go, the Society for the Scientific Study of Sexuality. I believe they're having this year's meeting in, I think, the Dominican Republic, something like that. But yeah, I learned so much. Like, the last time we were there, this was in 2019, there were people that were doing all kinds of research on cannabis, on the sexual response cycle, on one or the other, and it just blew my mind on, what they were discovering, what their hypotheses were, how much more work there was to do. It was just great. I mean,
we've always liked to do a lot of our studies on real cases. Like, I want to know, I want to talk to you, I want to see what's happening with each individual. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our customers have tried this for very different situations. But one thing we've learned that was very helpful is that having a one-to-one CBD and THC in our pleasure pearl, which is a little pearl that goes inside and touches the cervix, and it helps to stimulate the anti-inflammatory response, helps with the pain, also helps with cramping during the period. But we found that when we took the THC out, it didn't have the same effect. But the interesting thing is that the THC did not stimulate the brain, but it did come out in a urinalysis. So we are absorbing it, and it will come up positive on a test, but it's not affecting the brain in the same way that we view THC as affecting it, but it affects the vagina. So it's almost like having your vagina high. You can go longer, you can handle more stimulation, but in a powerfully pleasing way.
When I first started Endurotics, I was finding that there weren't a lot of people like me in the industry, and I'm talking like, engineers, but of course, Black women. And since I started the company, like, one of the things we're very passionate about, aside from our science, is, and I tell everybody this, representation is so important. And in the adult pleasure product industry, they are notorious for what I call status quo marketing. And even in the cannabis industry, we're getting there. We have a lot longer to go. But the lack of diversity really spoke to me too. So one of the things that we like to do, forward-facing in our marketing, in our teaching, in our photos, all of that stuff. I mean, we want for everybody to feel welcome. So you don't have to be a cisgender woman, to use our products. We actually are going through a rebranding so that we can have a more gender-neutral flow to us, because we want for everybody to be welcome here. I sat on a panel about a year ago with Buck Angel. I don't know if you guys know who Buck Angel is. But he's done a lot of pornography, and he got very famous after he used to be a cis woman, but now he's Buck Angel, and he's fabulous. And he has a CBD brand, and one of the things he told me was, there's such a lack of representation here. I live my life as a man because I am a man, but I have a vagina, and my vagina still has needs. And so one of the things that I want for all brands to think about is, especially when you're marketing sex products, a vagina is a vagina is a vagina, vulva is a vulva is a vulva, penises are penises. And we want for everybody to feel comfortable shopping with us, because everybody has such unique sexual needs. It always blows my mind when people feel comfortable inboxing me, emailing me, whatever, saying, well, hey, I got this particular need. What would you recommend? What can you make? And so just that, like people are bold and courageous enough to send emails saying, hey, this is what's going on with my vulva. Here's what's going on with my testicles. It speaks volumes. And I would like to see more of that in society. What about you? What do you think about, like, what kind of questions do you get about, you know, as you're launching your brand and whatnot? Like,
Well, is it safe? Is it going to hurt my vagina?
Good question.
So when we were creating our lube, we wanted to make sure it was pH balanced, that it had hyaluronic acid to help us with our moisture complex. You know, we have the silicone alternative so that you can use it with both condoms or if you're experiencing fertility issues, and anybody can use it. It actually feels and smells like your vaginal secretion. There's nothing about it that tastes different. It has the right acid. It has prebiotics and probiotics in it. So we make sure that all of that delicate flora is kept exactly intact so that it's not just your pleasure. You're not having to sacrifice your health for it.
yeah. Don't upset your pH balance. It's not worth it. Like sometimes, if I could go back and talk to my 20-year-old self, I'd be like, Raven, is he worth disrupting your pH balance for?
Don't douche.
Don't do it. Don't douche. Don't do that.
Don't put perfume on her. Leave her alone.
Do you guys have any questions? Like, I mean, we're just up here riffing, talking about sex, but do you guys have any specific questions? I love
Now's your
questions.
chance.
You know, like, we can give you a microphone, you know. Do you have any questions? Come on up. Oh, there's a microphone right there.
So obviously, y'all are like new in the industry. How long have you been at this again?
So Engerotics is almost, well, we're 5.5 years old. We'll be 6 in July.
So what makes CBD uniquely suited for sexual health? Like, what is it about CBD specifically that sets it apart? And you may have already covered this in the beginning, but what sets it apart from other aspects and other chemicals or other molecules that are in other sexual products?
You want to go first? You want to?
Sure. So we found that, you know, having the receptors there, a lot of our pain issues are actually coming from tension and inflammation and pain there at those receptor sites. So just like CBD working as a topical will help relieve that tension, that stress, that inflammation, it does the same thing in your vagina. You know, having the THC there really helps with pain and that pain response that we have. I'm not sure about the pleasure aspect because we're more of the medical side of it, of course, with pleasure in mind.
Yeah. Well, if you're having a lot of pain, it's really hard to get off. Wouldn't you agree? So, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm a structural engineer. I want to make that clear. We do have plenty of clients that, you know, come to us and give us feedback saying, well, hey, your products have helped me with my vulvodynia, with my vaginismus, other conditions that, you know, can make make sex painful or impossible. But we also have a lot of people who, you know, there's nothing wrong. What can CBD do for me? Well, you know, we all like ice cream. Like, I know that vanilla gets a bad rap, but I love me some vanilla ice cream. And, you know, just getting it on, getting in the sack, getting it on, like, that's a nice big bowl of creamy, delicious vanilla ice cream. But every so often, you want to get those sprinkles out. And you want to get that hot fudge out and that whipped cream out. You want to put that cherry on it. Maybe you want to stick the banana in, double entendre mint. And so there doesn't really have to be anything wrong with you. It just enhances the experience. With our soaking sand bath shots, now that's not, you'd think, I was really surprised when our clients wanted us to develop that one. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with sex? You don't put it in your vagina, you don't put it on your penis. They're, well, Raven, we need something to set the mood, to take that edge off. You know, especially for us women, sex starts up here, all right? Ain't nothing going on down here if this is not right. So, you know, you're done with the day. We've got COVID, we've got kids, we gotta wear this mask, we gotta get our hand sanitizer, we gotta get to school, and oh, there's an outbreak, and it's a lot. At the end of the day, I would not feel like having sex. So one of the big benefits of CBD, whether you're using it topically all over your body, vaginally, whether you're vaping, whether you're using a sublingual tincture, it helps take the edge off of what is life. And it gives you that soothing, relaxing way of just letting go of the day so that you can get into an appropriate headspace for sex. I mean, I can't have an orgasm when I'm worried about what we're having for dinner. I mean, or, you know, I just can't. Other questions?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Super excited about what you guys are doing. Like, really means a lot, and I definitely appreciate you guys bringing up the underrepresentation of the LGBTQ community as well. And of course, as women, right, we really do need to empower other women. So I'm curious about the team that you built around you to build these businesses, and kind of how you started thinking about the types of people you wanted to work with and needed to work with to be successful.
That's an awesome question. I love it. Gosh, well, so I'm an engineer by profession. Oh, we got 5 minutes. Thank you for waving that around. Very short story. I'm an engineer by profession. And when I started Engineered Erotics, when you're an engineer, you have other engineers in your, you know, my husband's right here, you know, he's a CTO, he's a software engineer. I knew an electrical engineer, I knew a mechanical engineer, I knew a chemical engineer. So really, I was already surrounded by all sorts of people that I knew, had worked with, had studied with in the computer lab. It was just kind of a natural gravitation of like-mindedness, but that's a very short story because 5 minutes.
For me, it's all about the team. I know that the energy that goes into building a product starts with the people who are building it. If they're not happy, you're not going to get a good product. So we create a culture around our company where everybody feels like a big family. So we now have 2 companies where we have split our brands away from our manufacturing plant. So now we employ 27 people, and each of those people are there because they want to be. They know that their job is super important, because when they come in that morning and they have a bad, you know, attitude, they're going to put that energy. And we usually are like, you know what, you're going to need to take a lap. You know, have a pre-roll or something. Just go and take care of that. But then when they come back, they know I'm sitting here, I'm building these products. It feels kind of like I'm working for a factory, but I know that that end product is going to help somebody. And so that's kind of our philosophy around the teams that we build and the products that we make.
Before we run out of time, I think we should tell everybody about our social media, because you know you want to follow us, so, and it's not up here on the screen. But we have a website, engerotics.com. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. We do have a private Facebook community where you can just come hang out with us virtually. That's usually the first to know people. You interact with the team as individuals as opposed to, you know, hey, I'm going to DM Engerotics. We'd love to have you follow us. We're in Denver, Colorado. We're in over 50 stores since the beginning of this week. I believe that number is 56 or 57 now. And we're just so jazzed about helping people, because that's really what it is, like improving people's lives, making good quality product to help people, to help them improve their well-being.
And you can find us at katsnaturals.com, as well as on Instagram and on Facebook. And keep an eye out for Libere. Libere will be coming in January, and it will have its own IG account. And we're gonna have a lot of great opportunities for you women to get involved in helping other women help themselves. Thank you guys for coming
Thanks
and
for
listening
coming.
to us.
Yeah.